Read bits. What is the most horrific thing you have seen? When I was 62 now, I was with my family on a car vacation from Maryland to California to visit relatives. Dad driving, mom front passenger, and in the back seat, me, M6, sister, F11, and brother, M13. We were 50 miles from home taking a ramp off the interstate when an upper ball joint in the front suspension blew out, causing the steering wheel to spin like a roulette wheel, breaking 3 of my father's fingers. The car flipped and traveled at 60 feet on its roof. I remember climbing out the broken rear windows and standing in the rain with my siblings while my dad tried frantically to get my mom out of the car. I will never forget him screaming her name. She had been crushed and died instantly. They had been married for almost 25 years at that point. All these years later, that night remains clear in my memory, much as I wish it wouldn't. Oh my God, I am so sorry that happened to you and your family. Thank you. She was a gentle, loving mother. I feel this deeply. I have a similar story, unfortunately. We were coming back from a 2-week vacation at my grandma's house. We had a Datsun pickup truck with a camper in the bed. I was sleeping in the bed above the cab. I guess at some point they stopped and let my mom into the camper to sleep with me while my dad continued driving. He was a sailor and was so sick of being on the prairies. He was just cruising along when a trailer hitch ball got picked up by a tractor trailer and flicked it at our car at 175 miles an hour. It hit the driver's side window. And what do you do when glass breaks near you? You duck. He ducked right into that trailer hitch ball. Broke every bone in his face. The accident is a deep wound, but what is worse for me is holding his cold, dead hand in the hospital. I'm so sorry that both of us went through this. No child should experience what we did. Busy downtown DC, lunchtime, screaming and some crashing noises, 2 thumps. Lady screaming, his head came off, running by the diner. I go out to a huge, stopped crowd. Eerily, not a sound. Car crashed into another, I see. Okay, is that it? Then in the street, a dead man, his leg lying next to him. His leg came off. The lady was screaming. I heard it as head. I think I am in shock, not processing much, just gawking. Maybe 2 men into the scene, I see another guy 30 feet down dead in the gutter. His blood stopped now coagulating, but clearly flowed down the street, rain gutter to the sewer. Initially, the eerie silence of 100, 200, people on a busy metropolitan street saying nothing or speaking in hushed whispers. That resonated me and made it worse. Next day from the paper, this was the 90s. I am old as hell for Reddit. I learned a man behind the wheel had a medical emergency of some kind. Flew through a red light and hit the 2 guys in the crosswalk. Best work buddies out to lunch. One just got married. Killed them instantly. A particularly grisly scene even for experienced emergency workers per the WAPO. They offered us counseling in the buildings around there. I didn't really think it bothered me that much. Didn't take the counseling, didn't think I needed it. But I kept the clipping from the post and run across it every few years, but I still remember every detail, but every chance I get tell some guy about it do, but every time I can shoehorn it in like now I type out a book about it. It is weird as hell. It sits with me. I should have taken the counseling 100%. Construction worker fell 30 floors in NYC and landed right in front of me. Not good. Wow, actually, this also. But it was 20 floors in Brussels. My mind did not know how to process. In 2000, I played in a band. We were just a dumb high school punk rock band. We had a friend who owned a PA system and he said we could borrow it. He told us to come over on Saturday and grab it from his garage. He had to work but said that his parents knew we were coming and to walk in. He hung himself and didn't want his family to find him. Myself and 2 friends opened the side door to the garage and he was hanging there. Eyes budged out, staring straight ahead. I couldn't process what I was looking at. My friends couldn't either. We just stood there. No one said anything for what felt like minutes, but I'm sure it was seconds. My friend said something like, "He's joking." Yeah. He ran out and got his mom. That was a stupid decision to make in retrospect. Should have called 911 and kept his mom out of the garage. Man, I still think about this every now and then. And that's enough internet for me today. Dang, I am so sorry you experienced this. Watching one of my parents succumb to dementia, it was a slow and brutal decline, and I had a front row seat as one of her caregivers. I watched my son die in front of me a week before his 2nd birthday, stage 4 neuroblastoma, a heart attack when they switched from chemo to radiation. I watched a line of doctors and nurses try to resuscitate before we had to call it. Feeling you, and I am so very sorry. My son stopped breathing and died in my arms at age 2.5 YRs. Broke me. Hope you're doing okay and have had solid support, not something you get over easily. Saw a guy's arm get ripped off in a construction-related accident. Didn't know bones leaked fluid when they snapped. My mom's friend is a sports teacher. She saw a kid get hit in the arm with a tennis ball, but not very hard. However, he started screaming and passed out. It turned out he had an undiagnosed growth in his bone, and the ball hitting his arm, even with minimal force, caused the growth to rupture, and the force of the liquid spurting out shattered the surrounding bone. Kid had surgery and kept his arm, but yikes. My brother had muscular dystrophy and died in the middle of the night. I had woken up with the urge to check on him. You could see that he struggled and was trying to get up or call for help, but he couldn't. I can see him so clearly in my mind. It breaks my heart to know he died scared and alone. When I was younger, going to a lot of raves and doing a bunch of drugs, I remember watching some chick overdose in front of me and get her dome trampled in by the crowd. She convulsed, foamed at the mouth, did some abnormal posturing, and then died right there on the spot. Her eyes rolled back but stayed opened, and I remember seeing her take a stomp to the face. That's probably the most disturbing image that I'll never unsee. I've witnessed the same thing happened when I went to an underground rave in downtown San Bernardino. Same thing, foaming from the mouth, convulsing, etc. Then he just stopped moving and was carried out on a stretcher. He overdosed on E. After that, there weren't any more raves at the Fox Theater. What a grenade thrown into a small room with 4 people does to them. This was 8 years ago, and I am still in therapy and barely sleep. When I was 13, we were driving into town for groceries. Mai got a weird feeling, so she pulled over to the side of the road, and a car came around the blind curve we were at and got caught in the shoulder gravel. The driver did not know how to correct. The car flipped and rolled 3 times. Between the second and third rotations, the driver came flying out of the side window. A half-second difference either way would have meant instant death. The car would have hit us head-on as it flipped, rolled. And not for my mom's weird feeling and pulling over and stopping. I jumped out and ran to help the driver. It was my cousin. The other 2 girls were people I knew from school. I'll never forget trying to get my cousin to remain still and stop walking around from shock. As we waited for the first responders, the shoulder that hit the pavement was destroyed. She asked me how it looked. I lied and said not bad, but I'll never forget the sight of the jagged bones sticking out through the flesh of her shoulder. They were lucky that on a lonely coin tri-road, their crash happened less than 100 millers from a doctor's house, and he came running to help us help them. None of the 3 died, but all were left with life-altering injuries from the crash that doctor helped to mitigate. Wear seatbelts. Wear your f***ing seatbelt. When I worked in an emergency OR, we would sometimes get car crash cases. The worst and most memorable case I ever worked was a young man in his early 20s, involved in a head-on collision and ejected from the windshield. When we moved him onto the operating table, I remember his body moved so unnaturally like jello, because every bone was broken. One of his legs remained attached just by shreds of skin. EMTs had cracked his rib cage open and the surgeon was doing a cardiac massage. They sent me to the blood bank, and by the time I returned about 2 minutes later, he was dead. I took his body to the morgue. Not once did I see a car crash victim in that OR who was reported to have been wearing a seatbelt, including him. The ones who buckle up usually walk away from the crash or leave from the ER, I guess. I texted all my friends and family after to say, please wear your seatbelts, it's really not a joke. I was cleaning out stalls at a horse barn, and when I went to drop a wheelbarrow load on the manure pile, I found a yearling colt from a farm a few kilometers away. He was lying on his side in the manure pile, barbed wire wrapped around his chest and front legs. Both front legs had been flayed, down to the bone in some places. His chest was in ribbons. He was breathing hard, covered in sweat and blood, and for as long as I live, this happened 45 years ago, I will never forget the look in his eyes, the pain and the fear. What happened was that the people living next door to the farm had gotten into a squabble with the horse's owner about their dogs running loose, getting into the field and chasing the horses. The horse owner finally called animal control on them, and in retaliation, the dog owners waited until the horse owner left and then let their dogs loose on the horses. Another neighbor finally noticed what was happening, but it was too late. Out of 16 horses, 2 were killed outright by the dogs, young foals that had their throats ripped out. Another 6 had to be put down, including the one I found that had run over 2 kilometers with his legs wrapped up in barbed wire. And the rest all had injuries to some extent. And that's it. Thank you for watching. What was the worst thing you've ever seen? Write in the comments.